everybody. I'm excited today to show you 4 awesome cards that use the Beary Cute stamp set from the mini catalog that Stampin' Up! Has out right now. These cards that I'm about to show you are actually from my October 2023 card club. So this is the video intended for our card club members to take the kit I sent them and assemble all the cards from this month's project set. So if you're watching and you're not a member of my card club, you can join this anytime. This is something I do every single month. There's a link right in my profile where you can click to get more information. And you can see right now in this video an example of the kinds of things you would get to do. So I'm Brandi Barnard from BrandiStamps.com, and this set of cards was from our October 2023 Stamp Club. We used the Beary Cute stamp set from Stampin' Up! This is the only stamps that are used on the project. And then each of my card club members paid $30. And that amount includes everything that they need to make 8 cards, which I'll show you in just a minute, and it includes some product. So everybody in the club got a pack of this Walk in the Forest Designer Series paper. This is a quarter pack of that paper. They got an entire roll of this iridescent white ribbon, and they received a full pack of these self-adhesive snowflakes. They're a metallic snowflake that are on glue dots. So these products together equal $20 in value right here, plus all of the product to make 8 cards. We do 4 cards, 2 each, we're gonna do 2 each in 4 different styles. So let's start off with card number 1. So here's what my card club members would have received. It's this cute little packet. Their packet would have all of the pieces to make 2 cards. Right now in the video, I'm just going to show you 1 so we can be more speedy, but they would get to do 2. I also emailed everyone a PDF of instructions, and so they can use that to assemble the cards. And I also do a video every single month. That's what you're watching right now, and that will help walk everyone through the projects too. So one of our first steps for this card is going to be just to stamp on the front. So here is a piece of gray granite cardstock. This is the card base. This card opens to the side. It's this long style that opens to the side. And we are going to stamp our greeting just on the front and center at the bottom here. So I want it over just a little, maybe about like this, toward the bottom. Then we will stick our layer of cherry cobbler. I'm just using Seal Plus for this. And I want it basically centered, but then it might end up a little higher than low because of the Merry Christmas. Obviously, I don't want to get too close to that and crowd it. And then we've got a piece of designer paper. So my card club members, they'll use a bit of the snowflakes, the ribbon, and the designer paper to complete these cards. But then, of course, there will be a bunch left over for other projects on different days. Okay, so this one goes just about centered off to the left side. I've got another piece of designer paper here, which we are going to glue kind of down a little lower right here and off to the right side. So we're just kind of getting this fun layering effect with a few different papers. Now let's hop over to this little scrap of basic white that we included. And we are going to stamp the outline of the tree first. So let's come right over here, just like that. I'm going to do my envelope too while I'm at it. So let's drop this down. I'm just going to kind of make the tree 2 units tall instead of 3 down in the corner there. And then we'll fill it in with the other image that coordinates right there. And right here. Okay, let's come back to the cherry cobbler. And we're just gonna kind of decorate this tree by stamping some of these red dots here and there, just like that. So it's got a little smattering of ornaments on there. Okay, these two pieces are ready. Well, let's come back over here and we're going to roll some Seal Plus right across this designer paper strip. I'm doing an entire roll. It's close to the bottom of the designer paper. It's not centered. And we'll grab 9 inches of the ribbon that was included. Okay, and we will start on this side. Just kind of give yourself a nice cute little corner there. And we'll allow it to lay flat about as far as where our tree is going to be. I want the tree to be centered in these 3 red areas on the sides. So just past the tree, we'll start gathering. So I'll just push a little bit of ribbon up and then press down. It's really easy to lift this up if you don't like how it's looking, but once it's the way you like it, just press it nice and hard down in place. The Seal Plus does a good job of holding it. So I'm just making little tucks and gathers in this ribbon. You don't want them to be too perfectly perfect. You want it to look a little bit more organic than that. And let it end with a nice little end there too. Now we'll come to the back of this tree. I'm putting the dimensionals way up high and way down low. These are just my regular Stampin' dimensionals. And then we'll place the tree kind of right where I was talking about before. Just like that. And then of course the really big finish is going to come from our cute little snowflakes. These come in 3 different colors. We've got copper, gold, and white. And I am just going to start with a bigger one that's in gold. You can use the take your pick tool. I'm just using my paper snips right here. I want this one to sit kind of on both papers. Let's do a smaller one next to it. Right about, let's go up higher with this one. And then up in the upper left, do one of these copper. So this project gets 1 of each color. And there we go. That is project number 1. And of course, you'll get to make 2 cards like this. It's a really pretty layout to remember for different configurations of designer paper and regular paper. And this is a really good color combo to remember as well. We've got shaded spruce and pretty peacock here in the paper, but then there's also cherry cobbler and gray granite to keep in mind. So those 4 make a really nice combo. Next up is card number 2. So here's the little card kit for this one. I always send pieces that are pre-done. Here's a little bear. We've got a deckled circle that's been embossed with the snowflakes embossing. And then I always include envelopes for all 8 of the cards as well. So let's set those aside. We're going to start this card with the ribbon. So you're going to want 2 pieces that are 6 inches each. And we've got this piece of designer paper that's 3 inches wide and it's 5.5 tall. We're going to flip this to the back And you roll the Seal Plus down the edges close to the edge on both sides. And this is actually where the ribbon is going to go. So I'm going to hold the ribbon kind of steady with my hand and bring the paper onto it. I just want the ribbon to peek out a little bit from the edge. It just gives it this cool frosty kind of a glow on the edge. So we'll do that on both sides. There we go. Just get those glued down really nice. And then you'll want to use your good ribbon scissors to trim off those ribbon ends so they end right with the paper. Okay. And then it looks like I missed a little there. We'll use plenty of seal adhesive right on here to hold this paper to our card front. This is my Pretty Peacock card base. Make sure I've got the fold on the left and trees right side up. And this will go straight up the center of the card. Right about there. Isn't that fun? What a cool little treatment with the ribbon peeking out. Okay, now let's jump over to some stamping. We're going to pull out our balmy blue ink pad here and go over to your deckled circle. This one actually isn't very bad, but do you see how there's a straight edge right there? All the ones that I cut were just a little off the edge, and that's because this is going to hang off the card. You're going to be trimming quite a bit off. So just make sure you keep in mind and, you know, let that side be the one that hangs off. You're going to bring your ink pad straight down to these snowflakes and just drag it across here. You're getting some ink right on the embossed part so that that pops up and shows more. Now we'll let that dry a little bit while we do some other stamping. We're going to stamp this cute little polar bear image right onto the bear die cut. Well, and this is a punch out, it's a punch. And since I'm white on white right here, if I tried to stamp it here, I just can't see the edges very well. So always put something dark underneath your punched or die cut piece so that you can bring the stamp to it and stamp easily. I often send with my card club pieces that are pre-cut or pre-die cut that you're going to stamp on. And of course, only if you're using photopolymer stamps. But if you are, then it's pretty doable to bring it right down to it and stamp on there. So let's set that aside. We're also going to do some snowflakes. There's this cute thick snowflake that's in the set. We're going to do a set of 3 without re-inking. So the light, dark, and medium. And I'm going to do that in the bottom left corner of the envelope and of the piece that will go inside the card. And that finishes up the balmy blue. So now that we have these pieces done, we can glue this one in. And get it just right here. Okay. I'm going to jump over and do some of my cherry cobbler stamping. On this scrap paper of white, we will stamp warm wishes and a scarf and a hat. Okay, we'll let these dry for a moment while we do this piece that I was talking about. So find the little straight edge. We don't want to end up with that showing on the front of the card. And just get some adhesive on here, especially on the one side where we know it's going to stick. And I want about a good 3/4 of an inch showing over here, centered from top to bottom-ish, and we'll lay it right here. And then I will go to the back with my paper snips and just line this up. I'm bumping my paper snips up against the card so I don't have to try to keep it straight. The fold on my card is already straight, so that guides me. And the other thing that I did at this point was use your tip of your paper snips to pick up a mini glue dot, and then you can just sneak it right in here to help hold that edge down nicely. 2 and 3. I sneak mini glue dots into little corners all the time when I want them to go in and help things stay. Okay, let's come over to our warm wishes and do some cutting. We're actually going to cut this right out just into 2 pieces. So I'm lining up the blade of my paper snips with the bottom of the word, and then I'm going out just a little because I don't want it to cut right along the bottom. We'll go up that side. Same thing with the top of warm. I'll kind of eyeball it, get it right lined up, and then scoot it up. And now when I come between warm and wishes, I at first, because that H goes up high, and so I want to pass directly through the middle of that gap so that I can put warm wishes on the front of my card. And then we'll just snip out this little scarf and hat by hand. Whenever you're doing this, leave a little white gap, because if you try to cut right along the stamped image, it always looks a little messier. But if you cut away from it a little bit, it leaves this pleasing little border that is actually also very forgiving. So if it accidentally gets smaller and bigger, which of course inevitably it will, then you won't have to worry. Also, if you're trying to do this with scissors that are not paper snips and you're struggling, I would suggest try the paper snips. I've always got these. They are $11 in the catalog. They're great, great little crafting scissor at a great price. Extremely sharp, make excellent little scissors. So throw those on your next order. They're worth it. They're designed for this type of work. Okay, we go. This is getting so tiny, you probably can't even see. Boom. All right, let's get our garbage away. We're going to use a couple of glue dots to get our bear dressed. So I'll use one on each end of the scarf. Maybe one, oh, no, that should be good. So we'll put that on him, just kind of find the spot on its neck, on his neck where it seems to fit. And then with the hat, it's about the size of a mini glue dot, so just kind of position it where you like it here on his head. And then be careful not to glue it down to your surface because part of that glue dot is probably still exposed. Flip it over and cover up that seam with a dimensional. So that'll help hold it in place. Put a couple of other dimensionals on here to hold him. And let's see, he's gonna come from off the side here, so his back end is gonna be over on this paper and kind of wandering into the scene. We'll put a couple of dimensionals on the warm wishes too. Depending on how you cut these, you might want to use smaller ones or some of your little edges. This one might need that. I'm just pulling off a little edge piece like that. And come right in here. Want those wishes kind of right by his feet, but underneath. And then warm. Cute. Now the crowning jewel on this one, again, is of course a few of our little snowflakes. So there are 3 different cute designs, and I'm going to use one of each in the white. So I'll go medium, little guy, and bigger one. And this one is card number 2. Okay, next up we've got card number 3, and here are the pieces for this one, to make one of them anyway. And we're going to start with the old olive ink and one of the presents, the larger present, that comes in the Beary Cute stamp set. And we're going to go to this kind of larger rectangle of white paper, and we're going to start random stamping some gifts. So we'll just let one float in here, one down there. I know I'm going to be covering the middle of this, so I'm not going to worry as much about having good present coverage in the middle. Okay, while I've got this green ink out, I'm also going to throw a present onto my envelope. And we'll put one inside the card as well. Okay, so now we're done with our green. Let's go next to the cherry cobbler. Okay, we're going to use the smaller gift. Throw some of these on here. Go ahead and let some of them hang right off the edge here. That's why you'll want a sheet here to protect your stamping surface. And then I'm going to use the little dot stamp. Looks like it's got polka dotted wrapping paper, but also you don't have to stress about getting it too perfect. Now we've still got this little snowflake that we haven't used yet, so let's grab that and we will basically just fill in the gaps on our random stamping. Okay, let's hop over to our card front. This is our old olive card. I can see there's the present I stamped inside. I'm going to flip the little kind of a designer paper that we created by stamping. And I want to layer it on the front here, but I want to tilt it so that it goes almost all the way to the edge on the right and left. Something like that. And then you've got a little strip of designer paper. Put that here, but close to the edge, right on the cherry cobbler. Now we're going to want 9 inches of ribbon. And you'll tie a square knot just kind of off to the left on this red piece. So get it so it's halfway. I've got half on the right and half on the left. I'm going to hold this so I can see the ends. They're going upward, so I can easily see the left one is on top. Do you see that? This left one is on top. So we'll tuck it under. Pull it tight, hold it with one of my fingers. Let's put both the ends up again, and this time the right one needs to go on top. And that's how I do a square knot. Just alternate, either go right over left or left over right. Get this end here, give it a nice tug. That's how you get a really neat and tidy little knot that'll hold really well, and the ends go out instead of trying to go funny and get in the way of our sentiment. Do one. Cut those however you think they look good. Okay, Okay, now you've got this really cool Celebrate. This is cut out with the Wanted to Say dies on the holographic paper. This is one of our specialty papers in the catalog right now. And on the back of the paper, I've already put adhesive sheets there. So this is kind of like a sticker now because the adhesive sheet was here. So what we're gonna do, I can see there's a seam on it right there. I don't know if the video shows that well, but as I lift this off, I am going to use my nail or the edge of my paper snips or a piercer or whatever, but just catch that backing. So lift it right out of the space without the backing. Okay. Now I know I had a seam here, so there's going to be a little bit more to peel from this side. Another thing I'm making sure of is getting these little centers out of the letters. So there's a little dot in the E. Okay, and then I like to stick it to something that can kind of hold on to it. I'm using the tip of my paper snips so that I can kind of eyeball it and position it where I want it. Okay, now this piece is going to go over the card front, kind of over the area where you messed up or where there's a white gap or just in wherever you want to put it. And you're going to use several glue dots to attach it. I definitely want to get a couple past the edge of my ribbon, right there. And then just put a few across. Okay, on this one, let's put some white snowflakes. Okay, now I'm placing a few snowflakes. Just put them wherever you like them. And that is card number 3. Okay, we are now ready for card number 4. This one is a really special little trifold. I think it's kind of a gatefold. So here's how your card base looks. It's already got these flaps here. This was a piece of 5.5 by 8.5, and then the scoring was done at 2 1/8 from each side to be able to make this happen. And we are going to start by gluing a few pieces in. We've got a nice white piece for the inside of the card. So we'll just put adhesive on that, position it here. And then on the front of the card, we have 2 pieces of designer paper that are going to get glued here. And you could use any 2. This is the one that I chose. And there was kind of a persnickety little measurement on this one that was like a 5/8, but it pays off because these fit just perfectly on the 2 flaps. Now let's set that aside for a minute and we'll do a little bit of stamping. You've received 2 pieces that are from the Nested Essentials dies. A really cool little stitched edge here and curved edges. So these ones are for our stamping of the bear and the greeting. And then you've got a little scrap of paper where we're going to do some stamping and cutting. So let's start with the baby bear. We'll put him on this scrap of paper. And then also let's come over to our card base and open up the flap. We'll add him on this side, right about here. Okay. Let's do one more baby bear. Oh, I got ink, shoot. Try to ignore that. Don't do that on yours. Get a little baby bear right there. Okay. Now let's jump over to the bigger, I call this one the mama bear. And we're going to go to one of our little stitched edge pieces here and stamp her all the way over to the left. Just like that. Now come over to the inside flap. One side has baby, the other side is gonna have mom. Now we'll go to our greeting. That goes on our other pretty edge piece. Let's get it really nice and inky. Stamp it nice and straight in the middle. Christmas is better together. That's all of the pecan pie stamping. Now we'll hop over to our old olive and stamp just one little bear hat. So the next thing is going to be to cut this out. And I want to show you a couple more things about fussy cutting. That's what we call it when we use scissors to cut something out. Once you've got your paper snips and you're giving this a go, you're cutting with a little border, you are going to want to do all the moving with your non-cutting hand. So for me, that's my left hand. I'm right-handed, holding the scissors in my right hand, and they're pretty much staying steady. They're not moving back and forth and tilting around these edges at all. It's my left hand doing the work to move this paper where it needs to be for my scissors. I'm also really only working in approximately the middle of the scissor blade. I don't go all the way to the deep part of the mouth of the scissors, and I certainly don't go all the way to the tip because I don't have that much control there. So I'm cutting, 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 and as the blade is closing, I have gotten too far now, so I'll scoot up again like that. Now I can cut this off anytime that's starting to get in the way so that I can work my way around. And the last tip I would give you is just don't stress too much about it. That's why you're leaving a white edge. It'll look good. Nobody's looking at that edge. Don't try to cut into deep places too. See where the two legs were there? I didn't go up in that space because it's close enough. I didn't need to. And now let's just cut out our little hat too. Okay, I'm going to use a glue dot again to stick my little hat, this time to the little guy's head. As you're placing it, tilt it back quite a bit, like as if he were looking up, and it's kind of slipped down toward his neck. And then let's flip to the back and put a couple of dimensionals here. I always put one on the seam to kind of help hold those two bits, and one there is perfect. Now we're going to put it on here with the little mommy. I don't want this to break the plane of the edge here, but I do want him to be kind of nuzzling. So I'm tilting him upward. He's kind of looking up toward the mama. Now I have these two pieces that are going to go on the front of this card, and this is where this card gets really cool because we are going to glue it in a special way to make it a cool gatefold. So the bear is only going to be glued on the right side, and the greeting is only going to be glued on the left side. So let's roll just on the right. And I want this centered on the card and up kind of high. I mean, there's some green above it, but not a lot. Make sure you don't put adhesive here because you don't want to glue your card shut. Now when I do this one, I'm putting adhesive only on the left side. And I want this bumped pretty far down, still leaving a green edge. Line these two up with each other. And there we go, we get that cool, fits like a glove, it closes like a zipper there. And now you'll want 21 inches of your cool ribbon. Okay, and we're going to tie this card shut. And we're going to leave it loose enough that this can be slipped on and off, kind of like a belly band. So the person who receives this doesn't have to keep, untying it and tying it. So to do a perfect bow, here we go. I've wrapped it around. I've got even tails on both sides, and I am going to tie a knot. Just bunny jumps through the hole. I've got it like that. Now I'm going to hold it with one finger. See how one of these is going down? That's the one that has to make the loop. Now this one, of course, is going to wrap around, but it is important that it wraps behind, not in front. It's going to go all the way around, but start behind. Doesn't matter which one is the loop. The other one wraps behind, and then we'll just tuck it through just like tying our shoelaces. We'll pull this tight. Now I'll adjust my ends, pull them shorter, adjust these bigger. But those tips that I just gave you, if you do it exactly like that every time, you will always have loops up, tails down. So if you ever get a ribbon that's doing weird things with the ends going the wrong way, if you want the ribbon, the bow to sit right side up like this, do the tips I just gave you. After you tie your knot, whichever one is down, that's the loop. And then when you go to wrap around, the other one must go behind. Okay, now let's trim, trim. I was actually already a demonstrator teaching card classes when a friend of mine, her name is Deborah Henry, and she said, let me show you how to tie a perfect bow. And she showed me that years and years ago. Isn't that cute? Now I'm going to give it a little tug from the back. So I tightened it, but from the back, so that this can come on and off pretty easy. See that? So now I can open it. Cute. Let's write a note in here. And then this can go back on without having to open it. Just like that. Okay, let's pull all of our cards back in. And here we go. This was our set of 4 cards for our October 2023 card club. And of course, you guys got to make 2 of each of these. I hope you feel like it's a great value being part of Card Club and that you love it. And if you are thinking about joining, click the link in my description right now and go check it out. I would love to welcome you in. Let me know if you have any questions. And make sure and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Have a great day. Bye.